Welcome to another edition of Citizen Watch, the Tuesday, January 28th edition. A beautiful evening in Merced County. Hopefully the rain clouds are gathering as we speak, because, folks, we need rain. But in studio, we have Steve Colvard, the best engineer in all of California. We have Robert, the Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti, sitting there with his Costa stereo headphones, the ancient
Pioneer.
ones that everybody remembers. They
The
look like
pioneers from the 70s.
Yeah, isn't there a song, something with coconut in it? They keep ringing in my head every time I see him sitting there.
Dun, dun.
Well,
I'm going to find out what song that is. That's going to be our exit song today.
And then we have me, Casey Steed, out here in flyover country. We got a little dusting of snow. It's kind of like the girl on her wedding night. We were expecting 6 inches. We only got 2, but nonetheless, we got a little precipitation here, so hopefully that'll add to our rainfall. As
Keep
you know,
sex out of our show. Keep this G-rated.
Well, I don't know if people picked up on that, but anyway,
I did.
We're definitely needing some rain, folks. You know, we had Jim Costa on one of the other shows. I was fortunate enough to hear his interview, and I know that one of his legacies wanted to be water and all of the good things he's done for water. Now, Jim Costa does sit on the Farm Bill Committee, which, lo and behold, 2 years late, it looks like we finally have a farm bill. And this is a good thing because we've been waiting for some word on that situation. Unfortunately, one of the things in the Farm Bill was to run the pumps there at the California Water Project, but they backed that out. So I don't know what that bodes for us, but we really do need rain. I guess we're going to get some later in the week.
And then, again, Casey, would be oversimplifying to say that there was a choice there to be made between the human being and the Delta smelt and the smelt one.
I think the smelt did win.
It just blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats. You know, it's up to them to figure this out. You know, they want to have the vein train, the brown streak, cap and train, but we can't seem to address our water issues in California. As we all know, water's for fighting over, whiskey's for drinking. One of the interesting things that came out recently is that the San Luis Reservoir, the feds could make a water grab to comply with pre-existing water rights to some of the farmers there in Fresno County ahead of the west side. So once again, the west side is going to suffer. How many times have we talked to Dennis Pulaski with the Pinoche Water District, Mr. Swigard with Merced Irrigation District?
Casey,
more impoundment.
Who's the representative out there?
Out where?
Out on the west side?
Well, Costa has part of it, and he has all of Merced County. So if you look at the west side of Merced County, Mr. Costa, Congressman Costa is our representative. And
wait a minute, Jimmy?
Some people say he's not necessarily aggressive enough to get things done, and I would hope that he met the other day with Denham, some other Republicans, a bipartisan effort to let the federal government know that if this water grab goes through out of San Luis, then there's going to be some problems. And again, I think we should look at the funding that we have and maybe put more of that into impoundment.
You know what it sounds like, though, Case, with that? It sounds like they went, oh, crap. For years, really and honestly, this has been a situation. I took a California history class, and I talk about climate. California climate runs on a 10 to a 12-year cycle, and we have El Nino years, and we have drought years, and we always have, and we always will, because I was told that years and 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 years, many years ago, California the Central Valley was actually a desert. And that's why we get desert weather. And, through irrigation and things like that, it's become the breadbasket of the world. But I think everybody has kind of looked at this as, it'll fix itself. And now all of a sudden they're at the oh crap level, and now nobody really knows what to do.
Well, it's that proactive versus reactive.
Yeah.
It's and that's, I think it's endemic in our government, is they do not face issues. They do not face issues until it busts them in the jaw. They don't look down the road at all. It's all about today, because I think it goes back to that mentality, is that if I can just keep pushing these things down the road, I might not be around to have to deal with them.
Well, I agree. I think that's true. I think we look at local situations. We're looking at today, like Casey's always said about the budget. The budget is in the deficit, or we're just barely, we got $2 to the good, so therefore we're in a black, and any minute and any moment in time that $2 can, be taken away, and oh my gosh, what are we going to do now?
We've actually heard people say, why are you making a problem out of something that isn't a problem yet?
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah, why look ahead? Why be?
And it's just
why be
you just want to knock yourself in the forehead.
This is what's got us in the issues we're in now.
Was that? Are you regarding to something that we talked about a while ago?
No, I'm not regarding to anything. I'm just saying that the mindset is there's no forethought in our government. They don't look down the road at all. It's all reactionary. That's why it costs so much, because you can kind of mitigate expenses if you're kind of looking around the curve.
Exactly.
Here, they don't have that mentality.
No, it's kind of like I do with my money. You know what I do is I put $20 away every here and there, and then at the end of the year,
I call that leadership. And I call that vision.
I call that smart.
I think we lack that terribly at the government level. But anyway, you mentioned go ahead, Casey. It's something about the budget. The Brown finally firmed up the budget. Do you have a chance to look at that at all, Case?
Well, he's proposed things in the budget. There's some discretion there on the legislators' part. With the legislatures are back in session now. They've come back from their breaks. One of the things they're banting about is this. What they call introductory kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, if you will. It's something that
pre-K.
Because we have declining enrollments, the teachers' unions are getting a little nervous, and they want to create a new grade, basically. A few years ago, they proposed paying for this with an increase in the cigarette tax. That failed miserably. So now Darrell Steinberg up there is saying, hey, let's use some of this excess, this surplus that we supposedly have, which we all know on Citizen Watch, and our listeners know that we don't have if we looked at our unfunded liabilities.
1.1 trillion.
To create this pre-kindergarten, and how they're going to pay for it is a big, big contention. Brown says we need to use prudence. We need to put money away for a rainy day fund. I don't quite understand him. He still wants to go hell-bent on this high-speed rail, which again was dealt a very interesting blow last Friday afternoon at 5:30 after everybody had closed. The Brown administration appealed to the California Supreme Court to step in and basically vacate Kenny's ruling on HSR, which we had heard all along. Even on this very radio station, we've had representatives from HSR come in and say, oh, it's no big deal. We just got to cross a couple of I's and dot a couple of T's, and, we'll come out with a new business plan, and everything's fine. Don't worry. Well, as I've told you folks, I predicted it here on Citizen Watch, the Brown streak, the main train is dead. It's dead. It's a loser. It doesn't make any sense in today's economy, and Brown has essentially admitted that by going to the state Supreme Court.
Yeah, but Case, what I don't understand is and I agree with you, but this is the way of this, and okay, everybody knows I'm a Republican, and I always say this about the Democrats, but here we go. The guy is spending millions and millions and millions of dollars still. Okay, instead of saying, okay, hey, look, let's suspend this, let's take the money and divert it places in water or wherever we need to go. Instead, what's that guy you said his name was during the break there? Morales?
Yeah.
How much is that guy getting paid to do nothing?
$365 a year.
There you go.
And Brown, in his budget, had to allot $27 million to the HSR authority because, as Kenny said, you can't spend a dime of that money until you come up with a business plan. So how are we funding the rubber erasers and the refrigerator magnets and all of the spokespeople going out and trying to drum up support for this boondoggle? Well, we have to fund it out of the general fund. We can't even use the bond money that was allotted for it. So these people are, borrowing from Peter to rob Paul, and the taxpayers really need to wake up. You need to call your representatives, call Adam Grace, call Senator Cannella. Of course, Senator Cannella is already on board, but call these folks and let them know how you feel about it.
So you feel comfortable that the California State Supreme Court, at the request of Brown, won't step in and vacate Kenny's decision? I mean, you feel comfortable with that?
I think they'd be going in unprecedented water. There's an appeal process. What Brown is afraid of in his filing is that it's just going to go on and on and on. And that's why we have the appeals process. And, we heard up until last Friday that Judge Kenny's ruling was no big deal. Didn't you have somebody on the show recently, Steve, another show, a lady from HSR said they're going to break ground in April?
A lady out of Fresno, yes, I did. Yeah,
and I don't think that's going to happen, because why would they appeal to the Supreme Court? And then we heard Costa, Representative Costa, on another one of our great, and again, folks, we have great programming on KYOS. He came in and tried to equate it, to this, we can't be so blind as to not fund these future projects. I mean, what would have happened if we wouldn't have built freeways? And he was going on and on about how he raised taxes in Fresno County to have 3 major interstates or 3 major freeway systems. Well, that's right. But those freeways carry more than just little pink bodies. They carry goods and services. People go to work on them. They transport goods. They transport the bounty of our valley.
The bounty
train is just a transportation project.
No, it's not. It's a money grabber.
Well, of course it is.
Well, again, it gets back to those theories about, can you put together a coherent business model for infrastructure for the citizens of this country? Some people think that you can't. Some people think that it's kind of you pay as you go along.
I don't think you can, Steve. I think so many people have, let's be honest. You wonder who owns the property. Like, for example, when I-5 was being built and they did the off ramps, and you wonder who owns that corner where that they're going to put a McDonald's.
Right.
Okay. And so what you get is you get people who have vested interest that put their nose in things. I mean, for example, it's ludicrous to go down Highway 99 with a high-speed rail when you got I-5 with nothing on it. You're not displacing it.
And this is the thing that's disingenuous about these arguments, these specious arguments about, would it never build a highway system, rah, rah, rah. The proposition was written a certain way, folks. The voters were tired of having boondoggle projects, get a shovel in the ground and just throw money at it. It said have all your funding identified before you start. That's all Judge Kenny's ruling says. And you see these people trying to backpedal to get away from what the voters wanted. Now, I think that's disingenuous. That's not democracy. And hopefully the California Supreme Court will shut Jerry Brown down, just like they did on his prison overcrowding.
Is this kind of
how many times about prisoner overcrowding, and we're releasing felons as we speak into our community?
What do you mean? You're in Oklahoma. What do you know? Hey, but does this sound like Measure M?
Measure what?
Measure M, the bond issue, right? Go to Atwater, tell them you're going to get a gym, and then don't give them a gym, and then,
it's definitely a bait and switch when it comes to HSR. They say it's going to cost $36 billion or $38 billion to get to San Fernando Valley. I guarantee you, folks, you're not going to be able to punch a hole through the Tehachapi's or the Grapevine for anything less than that. It's anywhere around that. It's going to cost billions. Some people have set up to $200 billion.
Yeah.
And by the time you look at cost overruns and stuff, are we getting down to our first break, Steve?
Yeah, we are. But real quick, Case, do you know if we were to shut this down today, if the Supreme Court were not to step in and tell Kenny that to mind his own business, if we were to shut down the investment that we've made in high-speed rail up to this date, do you have any idea of what that figure would be? What we basically pissed away, for lack of a better term?
$1 billion. We've spent
$1
billion. Quickly approaching $1 billion.
For nothing.
Well, not for nothing. Somebody lined their pockets.
Well, of course, a lot of people got.
How did you get rich? Can you imagine?
You can look at it this way: better to cut it off now than to keep going down the road.
Yeah, throw good money after bad. You're right. But here's just another example of just a complete and total waste of money, and then coming back and asking for more.
But you know what's the funny part about it, though, Case, is really sad. Years and years and years and down the road, when they go ahead and they write people's legacy, and some guy becomes mega wealthy and mega rich, and they go, "What's your legacy?" And he goes, "I screwed the California taxpayers with HSR."
Jesus. Be a long list, believe me. There's a lot of people that have gotten wealthy on the back of the taxpayers, a lot of people in this community that have, and that's a fact. And, if you're proud of that, you're proud of that. You played the game by the rules, my hat's off to you. But I have a big issue with people that have made themselves wealthy off the back of taxpayers, and that's not an uncommon thing, unfortunately. But you're right, Case. It's time for our first break, my friend. You're listening to Citizen Watch here on this beautiful Tuesday evening on KYOS. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Citizen Watch here on this beautiful Tuesday evening in downtown Merced, California. You're listening to Robert Tomasetti. Casey Steed is in Oklahoma via the telephone. Casey, you have any return date in hand yet? I mean, when can we expect you back in
July
studio?
4th.
No, very, 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 very soon, folks. I have a few more things to do here. If the weather cooperates, I will be coming back hopefully this month.
Where are you exactly? Tell the folks exactly where you're at right now.
I'm looking over beautiful lake, and it's frozen. There's snow on it, but
were you in a phone booth?
That's where I'm at.
Are you in a phone booth? Are you in a Camry phone booth?
I'm in my car, my studio on wheels, as I call it.
Yeah, what a serene environment to be in, though. But real quickly,
nice.
if you guys would humor me here, last week we had some discussion on that Measure M, that bond float that included El Capitan High School, Livingston High School, 2 gymnasiums, and 2 swimming pools. And I misspoke, and I'd like to clarify things if you'd allow me to. Underneath that bond measure, that Measure M bond measure, that $140 million, as we all know, they built El Capitan High School. They did some stuff over at Livingston High School. And then I had mentioned to the listeners that they still had 2 gymnasiums coming, one at Merced, one at Atwater, and 2 swimming pools. The fact of the matter is the swimming pools have been built. So that I misspoke there. I apologize.
Really? Where were they?
Golden Valley and Buhack, I believe. So
yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that.
Issues that didn't get accomplished. I heard there's supposed to be some
not the
air
superintendent's
conditioning at one
backyard?
of the weight rooms at one of the gyms, and I know there's some other things. Hopefully that money will transpire.
And may I put out a plea real quickly, too? Supposedly there is a Measure M Oversight Committee, a citizens committee that has been overseeing the money that's been spent. One thing that we've been asking for here is very simple. It's just, what's left in the bond. We authorized $140 million. What have we spent out of it, and what do we have left to collect, and what are the projects that we still have to get done? If there's a listener out there that knows anybody, or if you yourself are on the Measure C Oversight Committee, could you contact us down here at KYOS 723-2191? Ask for KYOS. I'd love to have you in, and just you could kind of fill us in on where that bond balance is and what we still have to get done with the remaining balance. So,
see, now that's kind of funny. We need to. That bugs me that we have to go out to the listeners who happens to be on the Measure M Oversight Committee when the guys who are spending money can't tell us where. That's the problem. The guys. Why can't we make a call to the Merced Union High School District and say, "Hey, how much money got left?" They should be able to tell you.
Well, that's true. I think it was interesting listening to another program on. Again, the wonderful programming we have on the weekends here at KYOS about the Measure H, sales tax measure in Atwater, and some of the intricacies that are coming in with that. There's supposed to be an oversight committee on Measure H. I don't even know if they've had an official meeting yet, one that complies with the Brown Act. But,
it's funny that you mentioned that, Case.
Oversight committees are important.
Well, here's another little caveat, if I may be so bold. I was also informed a little bit more about the role of that oversight committee for the Measure H. That committee is actually was established not to give guidance to how that money was spent. They are simply tasked with one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to make sure that whatever decisions the city council makes and how they spend that money, that it is spent in that way. They have no influence on how the money spent. All they do is, for example, I know there was some stuff about that fire truck. I also found out that fire truck that came through Atwater last weekend, it was just a coincidence. That fire truck was being delivered from the manufacturer to a city. They were coming up 99 and asked if they wanted us, the manufacturer asked if they'd like us to pull off the interstate, park
Stop
it somewhere
at McDonald's
so people can look at it. So it wasn't, so that's kind of how that all came to be. And then, when the word got out Saturday morning, apparently, that it was coming, people that would be relevant in the decision-making process were asked to come down and take a look at it. So it was very innocent. It wasn't like it was scheduled. It was kind of a last-minute thing, was my understanding. But with the Measure H Oversight Committee, there's been some complaints about them not having any meetings yet. And I think the gist of what I got from the information I collected is it's not necessary for them to meet until after the city council has decided how they want to spend the Measure H money. And then when there's actually a transaction, the sole purpose of that oversight committee is to make sure that the council spends the money the way they said they were going to spend the money. That's it. They really have no input on how it's going to be spent.
It says right here, it says, Frank Pietro put together a 5-member citizen committee. The committee does not have the power to determine how to spend Measure H money, but can make recommendations. So I have it.
Yeah, why don't we just call it the Measure H rubber stamp community?
Well, all it is to make sure if they say they're going to spend $500,000 on 5 police officers, they go in there and make sure the check was cut to the right person and the money was spent how they said it was going to be spent. That's the extent of that committee. So.
Right, but here's something when I was reading about the truck. What's confusing is it might have been the guys were pulling over to stop at McDonald's and tell everybody with fanfare, hey, well, let me ask you, the manufacturer of the truck knows that Atwater needs a new truck, and he's over there touting it. It's like a for sale sign in the front window.
But just things happened to align. I mean, they were coming up 99 to deliver it. So, I mean, it wasn't like there was this secret meeting scheduled and these people were invited beforehand. It was a spur of the moment.
I understand that, but what really confused people was Chief Pimentel's rhetoric about, the ladder truck eliminates city reliance on Merced fires equipment. So it makes people feel that, we're buying it. When in fact it was just...
There's no question that there's a few folks on the Atwater City Council, a couple of brothers, that are really upset that Atwater lost their fire department. They wanted to take it back from CAL FIRE many times. They tried many gyrations and gestations, and it didn't happen. It's like the train set under the Christmas tree that Brown didn't get. A lot of folks there in Atwater want their fire department back. They just can't afford it. They privatized it out to CAL FIRE, and now they're trying to maybe an end around by getting a fire truck. But in reality, they can use mutual aid with Merced. We have 2 snorkel trucks. They can easily get there to Atwater. I think the Measure H money, while it may be true, the Oversight Committee can't recommend how it's spent. I guarantee you they have an idea of how it should be spent. And that was one of the things. This measure barely passed, folks. Petro was down there opening envelopes himself, counting every vote on election night. It barely made it.
But you know what?
I think they have a fiducial responsibility to make sure that this money is spent wisely. And after looking at the crime that's going on in Atwater, we just read in this morning's paper where they caught some bozo with a bunch of mail he's stolen. Again, they're trying to do a lot with less over there, and I think they need law enforcement.
Were you going to say something, Robert?
No, that's okay. Casey, just
Okay. The only other points of view and perspectives that were given to me in regards to Measure H was, number one, when they contract with CAL FIRE, it's a personnel contract. They provide the personnel. They are still responsible for providing the trucks, the apparatus that they need to use in order to fight fire. And I don't know, you take this for what it is, but their contention is that they have a truck that is ready to be replaced. And again, here's a sense where maybe they are looking forward a little bit. If they do upgrade the truck that they're going to replace with this ladder capabilities, then down the road, if someone should come into town and want to build a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5-story building, that they'll have the apparatus there. So there's an existing truck, is what I was told, that is in need of replacement, and they could spend a little bit more money to go with this 110-foot ladder truck, which would allow the city to market the fact that they can, offer services to multi-story buildings. So take that for what it is. I also was told that it was brought up on one of our previous shows that they have $500,000 in the bank, and the city was forecasting 1.9 a year, and the math didn't really work out. If in fact 7 months ago, this was passed, and we only have $500,000, then logic would tell you that you could only count on $1 million a year. But in fact, what I was told was that first $500,000 disbursement was only for 3.5 to 4 months. So that $1.9 million projection is accurate. And again, this is what I was told. I have no facts to back it up. But
I'm liking it about. Can't hear.
Robert's mic dropped out.
Can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear you either. Case, do you have any comments on that while I try to fix Robert's mic?
Well, I want to just maybe take this opportunity to let our listeners know that we are on YouTube. If you miss a show, you can go to YouTube, punch in KYOS space 1480 AM. All of our shows come up. You can listen to them. We've had quite a few hits. Of course, we do have an email. It's citizenwatchmerced@yahoo.com. We would encourage people to write in. Again, you can call the station. Steve gave the number out to the station if you have any ideas. And we welcome any of our listeners who are listening that have a divergent point of opinion, or if you want to agree with us, we'll have you in. We have no problem. We had a great guest last week with Tim O'Neill, and Roger Wood, and we would encourage that kind of back and forth where we can ferret out these issues. You know, one of the good things that came out of the news this week is, well, I want to let everybody know that Steve Colvard finally joined the 21st century technology-wise and got a smartphone. So
whatever.
Okay, hey, I got a question.
No more flip phone, no more dialing D 3 times to get a C. I'm really proud of you, Steve.
Just for the record, Case, I want you to know this is a third-generation hand-me-down from one of my nieces who got the 12G or whatever's out right now. This is a multiple-year-old 3G, but yes, it is a considerable upgrade from my previous phone.
If I call you, can you answer the phone? Then it works.
Yeah, well, he's still on AOL, folks, but we're trying to get him into the 21st century. And speaking of 21st century,
wait. I had a comment.
What?
Hey, I had a comment, and you just blew right past me because I have mic difficulties.
And just for the record, when you screw around with that little thing in front of you,
sabotage. I didn't. I'm reading a paper.
You unplugged yourself. You hit the power source. That's why your mic did. So be careful.
Anyways,
there, please.
Hey, you know what I'm thinking is kind of cool. It's kind of funny. You know, we railed about the high school district, and we come up with all these facts and figures, and we had all these numbers in front of us. Isn't it kind of neat how people are now kind of doing that to us? Hey, I want to let you know that this is how it worked. Isn't it kind of neat?
Yeah, well, it's cool in the sense.
That's what we try to foster here on Citizen Watch, and that's why I put out the call to everybody to let them know that we like divergent points of opinion. We want to hear the other side. We welcome those that don't necessarily agree with us to come in because we just want to have a respect and a credibility out there in the community.
I have a question.
And try to inform people. That's what we're trying to do.
Casey, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, on Friday's newspaper, it said Merced growth forecast sunny. It said jobless dips. Then on Saturday, I saw the jobless spiked at 14.1%. Here it says a sales tax hike is expected. Why is there a sales tax hike expected?
I didn't know there was going to be a sales tax hike.
I didn't either. Were you seeing that?
Right here it says Merced. Well,
state sales tax recently.
What I'm having a problem with is when I try to follow the sun star of what's going on, it gets very convoluted and it gets very contradictory. So on Thursdays, folks, what I do here is I come in, I have some ideas. Casey, he does his homework. I do it I wing it as I'm going, and I like to read the newspaper and kind of look at things so that people in Merced can go, oh, yeah, that's what he's talking about. It says Merced growth forecast sunny. It says jobless dip, sales tax hike expected, although at a slower pace than state. Now, I mean, sales hike, do they mean that maybe we're going to have more sales tax revenue because...
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, revenue.
Well, but here you go.
Revenue is actually about 2.5% higher than what was anticipated. You know, it means people are buying more.
But this is how people...
Sustainable? Is that a recovery?
But this is how people get in trouble because I'm reading this thing, and I specifically remember reading this weekend that Merced's jobless hit 14.1%. But here it says that there's a jobless dip. What do we do? Lose the 0.1? So that's a jobless dip? Oh, speaking of jobless, Casey.
What they're saying is year over year it went down, but really from last month it went up. So, you know, there's an old saying, there's lies, damn lies, and then statistics. So I think that what we're seeing here is people gerrymandering, manipulating the numbers to serve their benefit.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I want you to tell everybody that we owe somebody kudos, don't we?
Yeah, well, we do owe somebody kudos, but let me give another kudos here first. So I talked a little bit about it. Google is coming to town. We just heard that they're going to lease one of our famous buildings out there at Castle, Building 175. For folks that may not remember, this was a building that Mark Hendrickson and the boys over there at the supervisors gave the keys to a guy that couldn't make payments, and so we had to spend about $500,000 to pay off the contractors that did work. But luckily, Google's coming in. They're going to lease this building. We're going to get $456,000 in lease revenue. This is for this car, these self-driving automated cars where you just sit back and let the driving being done by a computer. The one good thing Castle is good for is wide open spaces with few obstructions. So Google has found an area where they can go out and test these vehicles. Hopefully we'll see some technology spin-offs. We'll have some science, technology, engineering, and math students out there developing these cars in conjunction with the UC Merced, with maybe Merced College. I really
high schools
to see this.
The grammar schools, the 4-year-olds, we're all going to get involved.
Pre-K. Yeah. So who was your kudos going to go to?
My kudo was going to go to my buddy. Okay. Now, everybody knows that the Lorenzi family and I go way back, and they're dear to my heart since I came here. Elmer Lorenzi is a mentor of mine, and I thought this was really great. His grandson, Luca Almo Lorenzi, this is the third consecutive year that Luca Lorenzi took first place in his division at this week's Speech Festival Award, sponsored by MCOE. And I thought that, you know what? That is darn cool.
That's cool. That's a great skill to have.
It's a great skill to have. But here's what I thought was even funnier. In the Merced Sun-Star, they listed everybody who, I mean, these kids, it was on Friday, January 24th, page A5, and it lists Imagination Sparks winners at County Speech Festival. And it goes on to talk about Harmony Tinley and DeVry Barstow and Morgan Oliveira and Luca and all of these people that won. But I'm reading all of these, Los Banos, Hilmar, Los Banos, Hilmar. Okay, let's see. Is there any here in McSwain? But Luca Lorenzi for the third year in a row. And what school does he go to, guys?
I'm going to say the Catholic school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you find that kind of funny?
What's the name of that school again?
Our Lady of Mercy.
OLM, yes, exactly.
He did. I mean, and he's covered in Merced County Times. God bless him.
They pay their teachers over there considerably less than they pay the public sector teachers.
Yeah, and if you've seen those buildings over there, they're built in the 1950s. I don't think they've been upgraded very much. I've worked in the kitchen over there once a year. We feed the kids from the Itlo. Joe Pia goes over there, cooks his famous spaghetti.
They won't let me go anywhere near the building.
And those little tykes line up, and I'll tell you, it's just so rewarding. They're so respectful, and it's good to see that you can do a lot more with a lot less. It's not all about money, folks.
Isn't it cool, though, that he did that for the third consecutive year?
Yeah, that's a great skill. You're right. It's time for us to take our second break, guys. You're listening to Citizen Watch here on this beautiful Tuesday evening with Casey Steed, Robert Tomasetti, and myself. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. I should sound like Poltergeist with the lady. We're back. Welcome back to KYOS Citizen Watch 1480, folks. This is Casey Steed out in Oklahoma. I'm sitting in my van. I'm drinking my coffee from 7-Eleven, and I'm overlooking a parched desert.
You know, if there's one thing I can guarantee you, Robert, is people know your voice now.
Yes, they do. Especially Momo the Roach, one of our great listeners.
I wonder what Momo's doing this morning.
I don't know, but he's probably going to listen to us later on YouTube. We want to send a shout-out to Mrs. Payson for listening to us. Even though Mark's left, you still have some good radio to listen to. And let me tell you, we really miss Mark. I tell you, we need to get him on the phone. I need to.
We should do that one time.
I haven't had a new one since he's left. So.
Or you know what we should do?
I'll keep my ear out. If I hear he's back in town, I'll try to.
Since him and John Pedroso are really good friends, we should have him call in on John's show and just kind of, hello.
You know, we could. I could probably get his number. We just call him out of the blue. Three of us just dial him. But when you get back, Case, maybe we'll do that if we don't talk to him beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get ready for the next big natural disaster in California, but he might have a few moments to talk to us.
You think the drought would be considered a natural disaster?
Oh, yeah, it sure would, because I'll tell you, you're going to see, you're already seeing the herds being culled.
Here we go.
Calves are being sold. It's not unlike what happened out here in the Midwest. If you think food is expensive now, if you think a nice New York at $15 or $16 a pound is expensive, oh, just wait, folks. Just wait.
How are lamb prices?
Lamb? Well, anything that eats is going to go up.
Yeah.
Even you?
And me? I'm probably going to get skinnier.
Robert, you wanted to make a quick point before we
Real quick point, folks. There was an article in the 27th of January, Monday edition. Hold on, I'm waiting until Steve's done texting on his phone.
I'm not texting. I'm just reading a text that just came in.
Oh, okay. That's not texting, huh?
Right.
Anyways, students file suit to retire tenure for public schools. 9 California public school students are suing the state over its laws on teacher tenure, seniority, and other protections that the plaintiffs say keep bad educators in the classroom. So when you hear about all these knotheads that do this and do this crappy stuff to the kids or around the kids, and we go, why can't they get rid of them? And the next thing you know, the guy's kept on, and he's given a nice big fat paycheck of $200,000 for his back pay. You'd rather take him outside and introduce him to Hillerick and Bradsby.
Or Momo the Roach.
Momo the Roach. Momo doesn't tolerate that stuff. For those of you who don't know who Momo the Roach is, my brother Vince is so funny. He heard they called me the Velvet Sledgehammer, and he goes, "What kind of porn name is that? What are you doing?" And I go, "It's not porn, you knothead." I go, "It's the radio show. Go on." He goes on YouTube, and I guess in one day just listened to every show he had, and now he's sending me text messages about things that he could help with. And he came up with something. He sent me a text message with a link to it about the pay of Merced County employees and the city employees. And I'm like, how'd you get that?
Yeah. It is all.
He's trying to help.
It's all public
The power of
record.
the internet.
Yep. Absolutely. Amen.
Well, one thing, I don't know if you guys remember that movie with
Phoebe Cates?
No, it had Michael Douglas in it, Fatal Attraction. You guys remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the blonde in that? That was
The blonde was Sharon Stone.
No.
Sharon Stone.
No, Glenn Close.
Glenn Close. It was Glenn Close.
Basic
Glenn
Instinct
Close.
was... Yeah, I remember the
That was Glenn
triage
Close.
of the trilogy of
And
sex
that was
from
basically
him.
about a man who had an affair, and the lady he had an affair with wouldn't let him be.
Oh, no, she introduced him to an axe.
And
And
she had
all
a
kinds
fatal
of-
attraction. So what's your point, Case?
Yeah.
Well,
You
we
gotta
had
fi-
our own version of that down at the county building. I guess
Uh-oh.
the defender who just retired he resigned rather. He had
Retired.
Was accused of favoritism and cronyism within the office, a little nepotism there. Evidently, one of the supervisor's daughters worked there at the office, and they couldn't keep the door open. They were always behind closed doors, and that led some people to
Surmise.
that. There was some retaliatory conduct, and there was 3 complaints filed against this particular individual, Mr. Dumars. And so they hired an independent counsel person or an independent investigator out of Fresno to come down and interview everybody.
What'd she say?
She found out there was favoritism, retaliation, and workplace safety issues. And what I found interesting is that Supervisor Kelsey, it was her daughter, Ellie Soders, that was the subject of this, along with Mr. Dumars. She criticized the county. She said it's a failure of the county administrative leadership. It's a failure.
Who said that?
County CEO. It's a failure of the county council. And let me just remind Mrs. Kelsey, Supervisor Kelsey, that you sit at the top of the leadership ladder over there. I don't know if you know that, but
Not
it's the
anymore.
board, and it's the supervisors, and then it's the county CEO, and then it's the county council. So if you have a problem with the administrators, maybe you ought to walk into the women's restroom and look in the mirror, because you're the one that have the ability to hire and fire these folks.
She's too
Let
busy.
me just give a clue to Mr. Dumars and anybody that's in a supervisory position. When you have a female in your office, or if you're of the opposite sex, say you're Anna Pagan, and you have a male in your office, you leave the door open,
Right.
or you have somebody else in there.
Well,
you don't go behind closed doors, because it leads to exactly what happened at the public defender's office. Now, I shouldn't have to tell these 6-figure people how to do their job, and I certainly shouldn't have to.
Because you want to be one of them.
Kelsey, who runs the county, but when she sits there and criticizes the CEO and the county council, maybe you should look at yourself.
Okay, wait, Case. I missed something. Okay, I heard that he had a relationship with Mrs. Kelsey's daughter. But is Mrs. Kelsey complaining about Mr. Dumars, or is she I don't understand that. I missed that.
She said the whole thing. Everybody denied everything. Ellie Suter said it's all a lie spun out of whole cloth.
Lies.
I don't know what the hell that means, but I don't know where you get whole cloth and you spin a lie out of it. But
So she's denying there was a relationship?
There was an independent investigator verified these issues, and they got the report through the Freedom of Information Act, and it pretty well speaks to what it says.
So the Ellie gal was denying that there was ever an intimate relationship with this public defender?
That's correct.
And
she
the-
denied everything.
and the gal-
She said that while we may have been behind closed doors, it was nothing but pure business. But this is how innuendo, how rumor, how gossip spreads.
Oh,
This is how
absolutely.
You don't run an office that way. I can guarantee you that our general manager doesn't go behind closed doors with just a single person in their office. You have somebody else in there, or you leave the door open.
Right.
What do you have to hide? That's
Well,
the
it's
question.
not that, Casey. You know, Vince Perro, who is a very good friend of mine, he's out at the college, and he has kids that come into his office,
Absolutely, yeah.
and they'll say, "Mr. Perro, I need to talk to you," and he'll close the door, and Vince is like, "No, absolutely not. You leave the door open because of what people can think happened. Because you remember, sexual harassment is no longer about intent. Okay, nowadays, if a man says, "Boy, you look nice today," boop, that could be sexual harassment. So you got to be really safe,
well, that
guys,
ain't right either.
Women,
That's not right either.
But it is. That's the way the California laws have.
Pay someone a compliment,
Hey.
Well, it's a very shaky ground. Let me tell you. You have. I've been through a lot of EEOC training with the police department, and you just can't. It's a different world out there, folks.
Okay, you're in your studio.
I'm sorry.
You're in your studio right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have your doors open and the windows down so everybody can see in your studio, so they make sure.
Hey, the windows aren't tinted here at our remote studios. But anyway, I just found it interesting that Supervisor Kelsey took offense to this issue. If we didn't have nepotism, Supervisor Kelsey, maybe it wouldn't be a problem.
How'd the kid?
I think that this is,
how'd the girl get the job?
The good old boy system alive and well.
Right.
Here, this guy tried to kill himself. I don't know why. He had a suicide attempt back in September. Tried to say he's stable enough to run the department. The county said no. He tendered his resignation. I see lawsuits coming out of this. I just see it. It's just bad business all the way around.
And I don't know, Casey.
Kelsey's daughter may be more than qualified for the position she was in. She should know better than that. Shouldn't have put herself in a compromising position. And it just makes you wonder what else is going on down there.
I don't know if it's been the case for you, Case, with your hotline and we have that website and stuff like that. But I would say overwhelmingly the number one complaint that I get anonymously on our website is that very thing, that cronyism and that nepotism, where they're working for the city or they're working for the state or they're working for a department where there's favoritism, where people, some people do absolutely nothing and some people have to do everything. And I would say by far and away that's the number one issue that I get anonymously here at KYOS.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. But the problem is, like Casey has said, you try to make sure that you're squeaky clean because you never want perception to impede on what's the reality.
So the old adage about it's not what you know, it's who you know is alive and well
everywhere.
Yeah. That's depressing.
Well, one thing I would like to kind of finish the show up with,
look who's the GM of the 49ers.
Positive things in our community, and once again, Supervisor John Pedroso, representing District 1, I'll tell you, he's always on top of these public forums, these what does he call them? These town hall meetings.
Town meetings.
And he's having another set of town hall meetings in his districts, or the communities in his district. And again, it just shows how Supervisor Pedroso goes above and beyond and tries to involve the public. Now, I wish the other four supervisors cared as much about their communities that they represent. But again, when you've been an incumbent for 20, 30 years, who the hell cares?
Right.
So I hope that when he comes to Merced, the other supervisor that runs the city of Merced, represents the city of Merced, can break suction and come on down with Supervisor Pedroso, some of the electeds he's going to bring with him, and listen to the little people. I know they're way down there on the ground floor, and you don't really have to interact with them too much except a half hour twice a month. But it's really nice to see Supervisor Pedroso get out there in the community, listen to his constituents' concern, and try to at least pay him a little lip service.
Yeah, but I notice it. Well, personally, I agree with you. But what I don't like, and this is me, I don't like it's a Democratic band show. You got John who's a diehard Democrat. You got Jim Costa that's going behind him, and you got Adam Gray. I mean, it's if it's genuine and they really are concerned, that's great.
In his defense, he is bringing denim.
Yeah. And
he's bringing Gray and. Well, let me see here.
Costa and Gray.
No, he's bringing Gray, Costa, and Mr. Denham. So again,
Canella.
He's trying to bring the representatives.
Canella.
He's going to have Hendrickson down there to tell people how to pull a garage permit or get a car license.
Do me a favor.
It's one of those things where I think John does go over and above. He's always done that since he ran. He took over from a lady, Gloria Cortez-Keene, who was so out of touch with her contingency, was so corrupt, that John wanted to make a difference. He wanted to turn things around.
Yeah,
I think his slogan was, "It's about people."
Yeah, but with John,
first,
and I'm afraid. I'm a friend of John's, and to me, it's about the people. John doesn't care about the politics about it. What he likes to get out there. And, I mean, come on, he likes people. He's everywhere. You know, yesterday I asked him for lunch, or I asked him for lunch for tomorrow just to go have lunch, you know, hope that he's not offended by anything we've said on the radio. And he's like, look, I'm going to Livingston. I got a lunch and I got to be at. And, you know, and he's trimming down. I mean, he's in a fighting weight.
He is felt, man. He's getting down there.
But, Casey, when you say that Jeff Denham is coming, that's wrong. It's Canella.
Yeah.
Oh, Canella, I'm sorry.
Case, we're out of time, bud. It's time for we got to
go away.
Take this home. So
go fishing.
It's time to leave. Well, folks, again, thank you for listening to Citizen Watch. We appreciate all of our listeners. I didn't give that tip line out. It's 209-406-8728. We welcome your calls, anonymous or not. We really appreciate you listening to our show. We hope you tune in Thursday for another fascinating edition of Citizen Watch with Steve Colvard, the best engineer in the business. I'm Casey Steed, and Robert the Velvet Sledgehammer Tomasetti takes us out every week with...
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Good night, folks.